Hey everyone, what's up? This is Aram here, and today we are going to create this coffee shop theme. It's a Bootstrap website, and I've used Bootstrap, but I've used a bit of CSS. Most of this page parts are done in Bootstrap, so I hope that you guys will like this. Let me show you about the overview of this project, and then we will start it. So let me refresh it, and it will be easy for you guys to understand that we have a nice animation title and uh, this subtitle. We have a menu and a logo. I have made it by using font awesome icons, and then I have this about us section where I have some of these images, and these effects I have got from CSS. So I've used some external CSS. I hope that you guys will like this. And then I use a different style of button here in this one, and if I hover over the button, then it has a nice effect. And then I do have a kind of a product section here, and this section is made by the grid system of the grids of the Bootstrap. And when I click here, you guys can see that it is changing the data, and this is done with the grid of Bootstrap. Then I have this most demanded section here, and here at the back I have a video, and I think that you guys can see the video, and I've used some cards, Bootstrap cards, and the buttons also. The button has the same style, and this is what we have done by having a Bootstrap, by using a Bootstrap. Then this contact us, I've used a Google map here, and the form, and same the button style you guys can see, and then a nice footer, and this top button. I just when we just click it and we jump to the top, it is completely responsive. Let me show you guys the responsiveness of this. You guys can see that it is a responsive project, and everything is stacked nicely. Everything is working, and it is looking good to me. I hope that you guys will like this project. If so, do hit the subscribe button and like the video. So let's move on and start coding for this nice coffee time web page. So let's move on to the editor. I'm using VS Code editor, and this editor, if you guys are following me, you know that I'm using this, and if you are new here, then let me tell you that I'm using VS Code editor. I have already a folder here with the name of coffee, and I have images also. I took all these images, I downloaded the images from pexels.com, and I would like to give all the credits to the photographer of pexels.com. So now let's move on and start creating a file. My file name is going to be index.html, and I would like to have another file which would be main.css. As I've told you guys that I'm using Bootstrap, so for that I have already a Bootstrap site here, getbootstrap.com. I'm going to click on this Get Started button, and here I'm going to get a template, starter template. I'm going to copy this code from here, and I'm going to paste it. I'm using a CDN links. I'm not downloading anything, so I hope it will not be a problem for you guys. So here I'm going to change the title, and within this title I'm just going to write coffee time, and I'm going to delete this heading 1. I would like to link my CSS with this, so here in the head section I am going to use the link of my CSS, so it is related to style sheet, and the link would be main.css. And then I have used the font awesome icons. So if you guys don't know, then let me tell you that you have to provide the email of yours, and then they will send you the further instructions in your email. So follow those instructions and get the code from Font Awesome Icons. I have already mine, and I'm going to copy the code. I'm going to paste it within the head section. So let me paste it here. And then I'm going to use some Google Fonts, and for that I have a Google Fonts here. I've already opened it, and my font which I'm using here in that is Comic New. So let me search it. Okay, it's here. So I'm using this this font. I'm copying it. Let me get another variation of this one. It is regular, and I'm going to have it bold also. So get the code, the HTML code from here, copy it and paste it within the head section of your template. I'm going to paste it here, and this is how we have almost done all the basic necessities of this page. Let me use something here. Let me say body, and within this body I would like to have the CSS code of this font, and after this I'm going to let me save it, and now I'm going to close all these pages from here, this Google Fonts, this Font Awesome Icon, and this Bootstrap. Okay, so let's start writing the code. For this I need some room here. First of all, I would like to go with the header, and I'm having a comment here for the header. Excuse me. And I'm saying end of header, and then within the header I am going to have a header element. Within this header element I would like to go with the nav bar, but I'm not writing anything for right now for the nav bar. First of all, I prefer to code for the header, and then we will come back and write the code for the nav bar. So let me tell you what I'm doing here. So it's a nav bar, and let me have a end of nav bar, and then here I'm going to have a banner, and then let me say end of banner. Within this banner comments, these line of comments, I'm going to write a class, and here I'm using a Bootstrap classes, so text light, and the text would be right, and then I'm going to have a class of banner. Okay, and then here I would like to have a heading 1. Okay, a moment please, let me tell you something, and then we will come back to this line of code. So first of all, just leave it here. Let's go back, and let me use some universal selector here. I'm using an asterisk, and for this margin would be 0, padding would be 0, and box sizing would be border box. And then here I would like to go with the header section. First of all, let's place a header image here, and it will be easy for us to find the things. Okay, so here is the header comments in CSS, and I'm going to have a end of header, and within these line of comments lines of comments. Actually, I am going to say, I'm going to have a header here, and the height for this would be 100 view height. And then I would like to have a background, not a color, but only a background. And for the background, I would like to go with the URL. And the URL for this, I've told you that I already have images within the folder. And here my first image is hero. For this and this hero.jpg, I am going to use some properties here, which would be no repeat, center, and then center cover. And let's move on to the browser and let's see what we have done. So this is what we are going to do. It is coffee time here. This is our banner, our hero image, but I want to have some gradient effect over my image. So here I would like to go with the linear gradient. And for my linear gradient, let me write a code here for this. This would be, I want to have some black color, so RGBA, and 0, 0, 0, and then 0.600. I'll just go with the 6.3. Okay, I'm going with 0.63, and let me have another one, which will be again RGBA, not this, RGBA, and here I would like to go with 0, 0, 0, and 0.5. And let me close it, and here it should be a comma. Let me bring this URL here to make it visible within the screen. I don't want to go out from the screen. So this is, let's move on to the browser and see. Okay, now it has a gradient effect, which is not looking gradient, but it has some effect of black color. Now here, let me use the banner class here. This is the banner class. Okay, so first of all, let me write this banner class. Okay, so within this banner class, I would like to go with the heading 1, and I'm going to have a class. This is a Bootstrap class I'm going to use here, and I'm saying display 4, and then text center, font weight bold. This is a Bootstrap class also, and I'm just using another class for some of the CSS, so I'm naming this class heading, and within this I would like to write welcome to the coffee time, but let's move like this, welcome to coffee time. This is the name of the site, and then after this I want to have a paragraph here, so I'm going to go with a P element and assigning it a Bootstrap class, and the first class is, I'm using it for some CSS. I'll show you this, and then I'm using this text center class of Bootstrap, and then I would like to go with some dummy text, which would be lorem ipsum, and it's too much actually. I just want to go with the 5 words, so it's enough. Okay, let me bring it here. It will be visible within the screen. Okay, so the banner is end. We have done with the banner, the markup of the banner. Now let's start styling the banner And here I would like to go with the position. This position would be absolute. Now I want to have a top with 50% and left also 50%, and want to have some transform, and I should say translate. And I'll explain you what's going on here. A moment please. 50% and then minus 50%. And then I want to have a width here. This would be 80, not 60, 80%. Okay. Let's save it. Move on to the browser, and you guys can see it is set within the center of the banner, and there is a paragraph. Now let's animate it. So for the animation, let's have a heading class. If you guys remember, I have used this heading class here. Let me show you this one, this heading class, and after this heading class I'm going to use this main class. So right now I'm just using the heading class, and for heading let's use some animation, and animation name, let's create an animation first, then it will be easy for you to understand what I'm doing here. For animation I'm going to use the keyframes. I'm sorry for this dog, it's my neighbor's dog. And 0% and transform, and then translate X. Here I've used the keyframes. The name of this animation is slide. Okay, I named it slide. And on 0%, what it's going to do, it is going to transform and translate X into X-axis, and it is going to perform the 1000 pixels. And then I'm going to have an opacity here, and this opacity here, it would be 0. Let me bring it here, and then I want to go with the 100%, and for this I have a transform, and the translate would be, spelling of my transform is not correct, so translate X. Here I'm going with 0, and the opacity here would be 1. And now here I'm using this animation name, so the animation name is slide. Let's say the animation name is slide. Yep, okay. And I want to have an animation duration. So the duration of this animation would be 2 seconds. And now I want to animate the paragraph. So for this I'm using a main class, and I'm saying animation, and this animation name, again I'm going to use this name, this slide. And now I want to have, again, oops, not the parentheses, but I want to go with the animation duration. So animation duration, and here again 2 seconds, and I want to go with the animation delay property. So animation delay property would be, it would be 5.5 seconds. I want it to have a delay time, it will not, let me show you first. Okay, so here if you guys can see, when the heading comes first, then I need this paragraph to come after. So for this I'm using to come after the delay of 5 seconds. That's why I'm using this 5 seconds here. And now I don't want if you guys notice, this is already here, so I wanted to hide. So for this, I'm going to use the animation fill mod, animation fill mod, and this mod would be backwards. Okay, let's save it. Move on to the browser. Not this one, let me close it. Okay, and let me refresh the page. And after the delay of 5 seconds, this paragraph appears. I hope that you guys understood what I have done here. Now let's move on and start coding for the navigation bar. Our banner is ready. So for the navigation bar, let's move on to the index.html. And here we already had commented lines for the navigation. And here let's start by using a nav element as a class of Bootstrap. So I'm using a nav bar class, and I'm saying nav bar expand. It expands on large screens. Then I want it to be fixed on top, and this nav menu I am going to use for CSS. Okay, and then I want to have a link here, so I'm saying href, and right now I'm not using any, I don't want this link to link with anything else, so I'm using a class here for a font awesome icon, and here I'm going to use FE and the font awesome icon mug hot, and I want it to be bigger than 3 times bigger than its actual size. So this is what we are going to have. So there is a nice mug, but the color we will change it in CSS. Now the next step, I would like to have a button for the smaller screens, the hamburger menu. So I want to go with the button here, button element. I'm assigning it a class. It's a Bootstrap class again, and it's a nav bar toggler, and then nav button, and the type of this button would be a button. I'm using a Bootstrap class data toggle. Okay, and collapse. I think I'm not going to use it. Let me have a class here. So we'll see if I'm going to use it or not. Okay, let me break the code line and the line into half because it will not be visible. Okay. And here I am going to say data target, and the data is going to target. I'm using an ID of navbar, and within these button line from start to end, I am going to have a div, assigning it a class. This is background light. It's a Bootstrap class, background light, and now I'm naming it a bar1. And then let me copy and paste it for a couple of times. Here I'm saying bar2 and bar3. And then after this, I want to have a div, assigning it a class, and it's a collapse. Yep, collapse navbar. It's a Bootstrap class again, so collapse and justify content, and justify content end, and the text would be uppercase, and font weight, let me bring this line here. Font weight would be bold. And then I would like to have an ID here, and this ID would match to this one, so I want to have this ID here, and I'm saying nav bar. Okay. Now let's have some unordered list items here, and for that some ULs here, that unordered list, and let me have a class, and I'm using a nav bar, nav, and then I want to go with some list items, assigning it a class, nav item, and I want to have a link here, and this shouldn't be anything within this link, and I want to have a class, and this class would be nav link and margin 2, and this menu, we are going to use this menu class in our CSS for some styling, and I'm saying home. Now I want to copy and paste this link for several times, so let me copy this and let's paste it 2, 3, 4, and 5, and here I just want to change, I want to have it about, then another class would be a product, price, or pricing we can see, and contact. Let's save it, move on to the browser, and we have a links and the coffee cup, the logo, the brand actually. Now let's move on to the CSS and start styling this nav bar. So here and above the header, below the body, above the header, let's start styling the nav, and let me have the end of nav. If this video, I think this video will be longer, it would be of 1 hour, and I will make parts of this. I'll make a second part of this, so don't forget to watch the second part of this video. Okay, so nav, let's have a nav menu class, dot nav menu, and here I would like to go with the padding, and padding would be 25 pixels, and now I want to have a font awesome class, that would be FAS, and FAS with the color of this, I would like to go with the DBC1AC, DBC and 1AC. Okay, and now I want to have a menu class here, and here I want to go with the font size, it would be 20 pixels, and the letter spacing would be 1 pixels, and the color of the menu would be again DBC1AC, and the transition effect, I want some transition effect here, and it would be all and for 2 seconds, and the color, letter spacing, font size, let me check what I've done here if I'm not wrong. menu font size 20, letter spacing 1 pixels, color this, and transition is this. Okay, now let's save it and check. Okay, so we have a kind of a creamish color of this menu. So when I hover over it, it has a blue color which doesn't look good. Let's change this hover effect, and here let's go with the menu hover, and here the color would be it would be a brown color, 6348, kind of chocolate. Okay, 634832. Let's save it. Yep, here it's not visible, but when we comes down, then it will visible. It is here. I don't think that you guys like this color scheming of mine. You can change it. Okay, you guys use your own. Now let's go and start styling the bars for our smaller screens. These bars, these bars. Okay, so for this I am going to use the class bar1, and then bar2, and then bar3, and here the width would be 23 pixels, and the height would be 3 pixels, and margin would be 5 pixels. And again, I want to have a bit of transition, so that would be not app, all 4 seconds. And then and that's all. I think I don't want to. Yep. Let's save it and let's check. So here we have this hamburger menu. Okay, and when we hover over it, we have a menu also here. I don't want this outline. I want to get rid from this outline. If it is visible to you guys, let me click it, and there is a block. So let's remove this block, and for that, let's say navbar toggler, and outline would be none. Let me show you something. I know it isn't removed. I want to explain you something a bit here. When I click, okay, the block, the border still here, it remains here because it is we are overwriting the Bootstrap code. So here, Bootstrap style, so here we have to say important. Okay, now you guys, we can, yep, now we cannot see that borderline here. Okay, let me have a glass of water. Okay, now let's move on and start creating about us section. We have done, this is the project we are copying. So we have to start this about us project, about us section now. Okay, and this is what we are working on. So let's move on, and here after the header, let's have a comment for about us, and then here end of about us. Let me have some space here, and here I'm going to say section. I'm going to start it with the section element ID, and the ID of this would be about, and the class it's a Bootstrap class, so padding y from y-axis, this would be 5. And now here I would like to go with a div. I'm assigning it a class and Bootstrap container class. And I want to have again another class which would be raw. And now I would like to go with another class. This class would be, I want to have a column call medium md and 6, and then margin y would be 4. Within this I want to go with a heading 1 and I'm assigning it a class. It's a Bootstrap class again. This is uppercase. And title text, it is not a Bootstrap class. I want to use this one. And then I want to have a display 3. And here let's have a about us. Not this one. About us. Okay. Now after this heading I want to have a paragraph. I'm using p and p element, and I'm saying assigning it a class, again a Bootstrap class, not a Bootstrap class, I'm sorry, it's a text class. I'm assigning it for my CSS, and here I want to go with a paragraph of 20 lines, so some dummy text, and then let me break it into lines so it would be visible within the screen. And here let me close this, and it is more nicer to you guys. Okay, and now I want to have a button here because there is a button. So for that button I'm using a href, an anchor tag, and I'm assigning it a class, and this class I'm going to use for CSS. So hover right, so when we hover there's an effect comes from left to right, and a margin y before, and in a Bootstrap class capitalize. Yep, I'm just checking the spellings, and here it would be no more. Okay, and that's all. Let's save. Not all, actually we have to do something else here. I just said that's all. Okay, now we need these images here. So for this I have to set for the images, I have to write for the images, and for the images I would like to go with the div here, and division, and assigning it a class, and this would be call medium 6, and about images, it's this class we are going to use in our CSS about images class, and margin y would be 4, and here I'm just saying display none. I'm using the short of this, so I'm saying d none, and then display large and block. Okay, so on the smaller screen it is not going to display the images, but on the larger screen it is going to display the images. And here I'm using image source, and what is the source I do have, which is images, and the first image will be image 1, and I am not using any alt, but you should, it will be helpful in SEO. And then I am going to have an image 1 and class, and I'm using a image thumbnail, and then I want to have about image, about img. This is what I'm going to use in in our CSS, and here I mistook, it's thumbnail. Now I need to copy and paste the same line for several times. So let's copy this and paste it here. 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay. So here I'm just changing the numbers of the images here, and here it would be 2. Then this one and this one would be 3. This and this would be 4. And this image here and here would be 5. Let's save it. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 images. Okay, now let's move on to the CSS main.css, and here let's start styling this section. And let me remove these extra spaces. Okay. And now here let's start writing, and here it should be about us, and let's say end of about us, end of about us. It's a nice line. Okay, here let's get the ID from the section, if you guys remember. I hope you guys remember. Yeah, and here it is, this ID. Okay, I'm using this ID about here, and I'm going to say background. Okay, the background, and I want to go with a black background here. Then a margin top, and this would be 30 pixels, and color for this would be DBC 1AC. This would be the text color. Let me show you. It looks nice now. And now let's start coding for the let's have some style to the text actually here. So the text would be the font size. This would be 28 pixels. And only the text, I want it to be 28 pixels. Let me bring it in the center of the screen so it would be easy for you guys to see what's going on. And now I want to go with the about images, and here the position would be relative. And now let's have it about image class, about img class, about img. And for this about img class, here the position, the position would be absolute, because here I have the relative position, so I'm using absolute position here, and I'm using a width of 150 pixels, and then transition, and this would be all 2 seconds ease, and I want to have an opacity of 0.9. Then I am going to choose the image 1, the class of img1, if you guys remember, this img is, let me show you this img. Okay, so I'm using this img class for the image1. This img1, it would be left 0%, and then top would be 0%, and then let's have a img2, and for this the left would be 20%, and then the top for this would be 20%, and here I want to go with the z index. Let me show you something, then it will be easy for you guys to understand that all the images are here. So we just set the image1 with these properties, that left would be 0 and top would be 0. Now I am using to set the image2, that which is stacked here, and it is behind somewhere in within these pictures. So when after using the z index, it will appear. Okay, so let me use the z index, and z index would be 10. Let's save it and let me show you. Okay, there is something, and now let's move on and start working with the image 3. Then it would be more easier to differentiate between these. Image img3, and for this I would like to go with the left for 40%, and the top would be 45%, and here the z index would be 20. Okay, now let's go with the image 4, img4. We have used the 5 images, now we are working with the 4th one, and here the left would be 40%, and the top would be 0%. And now let's go with the image img5, and the img5 would be, the left would be 0%, and top would be 45%. And that's all. Let's move on to the browser and see. Yes, everything is set or styled nicely by using some z indexes. So now we need to, let me show you that when I hover over them, nothing is happening. So we use the hover effect, and the same hover effect like this, when we hover over it, it gives some nice effect, and there is an opacity, and the other image have some sort of opacity. Okay, so let's move on. Let me change it here. Okay, and here, okay, it should be here. Dot about img and hover properties. So for hover, there should be an outline, and this outline would be of 10 pixels, and it would be solid, and the color would be DBC1AC, and then outline, not bound, outline offset, and this outline offset would be 0.8 rem. So in place of this rem, let's use the pixels. So it should be 32 pixels. Okay, and then I want to have a transform property. So transform, and I want to use a scale here, and it would be 1.3, and then I want to use a rotate property, and here I want it to rotate to 20 20 degrees, and then our favorite z index, which would be 30, and the opacity for this would be 1. Let's save it. And now let's use another class. This other class is dot about images and hover again. So here it is going to say not only this, but let me have another class also. So this would be dot about img and not. Okay, not, and then I want to go with the hover, and here within these line of codes or code blocks, I want to have a opacity would be 0.5. okay, let's save it. And you guys can see that when I hover over it, there is a nice effect and there is a opacity. The other images are they have an opacity of 0.5 or 5 seconds. Okay, so now let's move on and start styling this no more button. And this no more button, this link, let's give it a style of a button. So for this, let's use a btn class here, and the color would be the same, dbc1ac, and the font weight would be bold, and border should have a border of 2 pixels, solid, and then 634832. okay, I want to have a border of a chocolate color, so font size of this button would be 25 pixels. Let's save it and check what had we done here. So we have a border and a button, but I want a hover effect like this, that when we hover over it, it can there should be effect comes from left to right. So for this effect, let's move on to the editor, and here let's start styling, or let's have a code for the effect. So for this, if you guys remember, I have used this hover right class, not right. Let me show you. Here, this one is hover right, so I'm going to use this hover right class here. And let's go with the display, and it should be inline block, and then vertical align, it would be middle, and then let's have a transition duration, and for this transition duration it would be 0.5 seconds. And now let's have a transform property, and for this transform property I'm going to use a perspective, and the perspective should be 1 pixel, and then I want to have a translate z. okay, and this translate, let me write it here, translate z, and it would be 0. And then let me bring it here, box shadow, so box shadow, this would be the box shadow would be 0, 0, 1 pixels, RGBA, and then 0, 0, 0, and that's all. Now let's have a position here. So with the position, it would be relative, and then transition property. Transition property would be color. And now I want to go with the hover right class again here for pseudo element before, and here no content. I don't want to go with a content. It should be empty, and then there should be a position, and then this position would be absolute, and again a z index -1. Top would be 0, and the left would be 0, and for the bottom it would be 0, and then background. For the background, again I want to go with the same color. Now let's have some transition timing function, and here it will be transition timing function. And for this transition timing function, I want to have a scale x0, and then transform. Okay, let me write transform origin would be 0, 50%, and then transition property, again the transition property, and it would be transform, and then I would like to go with the transition duration, and it would be 0.5 seconds. Let's save it. Let me bring it in the middle. Okay. And now here let's have a hover effect, HVR right, and then a hover effect. And for this hover effect, and there should be something else also, which would be HVR right, focus, and then another property. So here let me have a comma, let me bring it down and say HVR and right, and then active. And for this, let me have a color here, and this color would be a black. Okay, so what I've done so far, right hover, focus, and active. It's done. Now we have another HVR right hover, and then before, and again an HVR right, and then focus before, and focus before, and again here HVR right, active, and before. So my spellings of active. Okay. And now here let's have a transition timing function. So I'm using my IntelliSense, and here I'm going to use a cubic Bezier. and for this I am going to use 0.52 and then 1.64, not 11, 1.64, and then 0.37 and 0.66, and a transform scale. So transform, and the scaling of x would be 1, and that's all. Let me have a glass of water. Okay, so let's see if it is working or no. No, it's not working. There should be. It's not working. Let me check what had happened there. So I have found a mistake actually. Well, let's correct this mistake. First of all, here in hover right before, in this block I forgot to type the right 0. Actually I mistook here. And then here transition timing function. Here the transition timing function are is and out. And then this scale shouldn't be here. This scale have another property, and that is a transform property, which is using this scale. So I mistook here. Let me save it. And now when we click over the button, when we hover over the button, actually there is a nice effect, and this effect is appearing from left to right. So I think that it is enough for now for this video, because the time is going to be exceeded if I take more. If I talk much and if I take more time here, so it will be too long video. In the next video I'm going to start the second part, the second part like this one. I'm going to start this grid system, grid section, the tab, and this video, and I will try to finish this within the next video. So I hope that you guys like this until now. So keep watching and continue the next part of this, continue to watching the next part of this. I'm Iram, and I'll see you with the other part, the continuation of this video. If you like this, do subscribe the channel and hit the like button. I'll see you in the next video, the continuation of this project. Okay, see you in the next one. Bye for now.